Hi everyone, this is Anatole and I'm here with my review of Swamp Thing Season 1, Episode 7 titled Brilliant Disguise, and it scored 8.7 on IMDb, that's out of 247 votes. In the plot summary, courtesy of IMDb, still taking in on his human appearance, Swamp Thing takes Abby to a rotten part of the swamp where she gets in danger. Lucilla leads Avery to the swamp with a hidden intention, while Maria meets up with a leader of some shadowy group, which I think is the Combine. And what I was struck with in this episode was that in my review for episode 2, after the scene where Sunderland had the town hall meeting, and well, I guess that would be episode 1 because Alec talks to Sunderland in that meeting, it was my intuition that a strong theme for the series would be the influence of Sunderland over the town, because you could see how he was a corrupting, evil influence on the people there. And this is borne out. And in many ways, this show strikes me as being very Manichaean, in that you can see characters are given a choice that can redeem themselves and either turn towards the path of nature and renewal and generosity, or they could turn towards selfishness and the rot, and then green is the other side. And that's about as much character development as we get. So my one complaint of the series so far is that we haven't seen much of Swamp Thing, and when we do, we don't get much about the character's conflicts. We don't see him coming to important decisions. Instead of seeing those moments where he learns about the green, he just informs Abby in some sort of info dump. The green, I feel the green has told me. But we're never there when Swamp Thing is in the dark struggling and gets that moment of epiphany, where we don't see what drives Swamp Thing and what is preventing him from fulfilling that. We get the sense now he's going to be a guardian of the swamp. He's hinted at that, but what is driving him? What does he get when he fulfills being the role of the guardian of the swamp? Because I go back to the scene in episode 1 where Abby says that she Googled Alec and found that he had lied on his research paper. He had fudged the results, and he didn't seem to have any sort of regret over doing that, and that was a character flaw. And I've been waiting for the moment where the character grows towards that and past that, because that would be character development. But instead of seeing Alec and Swamp Thing, we spend most of the episodes on Abby, and I totally get it's probably for budgetary reasons. I referred to in episode 1, my review of that this series reminded me very much of The Incredible Hulk, because there we would get 2 appearances of the Hulk per episode, and then David Banner would be the character we followed for the majority of the runtime. And instead here, Abby is that person that we follow instead of Swamp Thing. But because of that, now we see most of the show through the lens of Abby and the antagonists towards Abby, and very little towards Swamp Thing. And then another weakness is Abby is not given enough agency, because time and again she gets into trouble, but it's Swamp Thing who has to rescue her. We never see the moment where Abby is able to do something to solve the conflict or to move the story forward without the aid of Swamp Thing. So that's the old trope of the damsel in distress. So there are many ways where the show is weak on character, but the one thing that it's strong in is atmosphere and horror, and giving us a tapestry of the way that the characters in this town are being affected by the twin influences of the rot and the green, and the people who represent the rot and the green. So it's really good for that. And speaking of the plot for this particular episode, the turn where Lucilla and Maria conspire together, I did not see happening. And Maria's drive has been pretty straightforward up to now. It's that she wants to restore her daughter to life. And this turn against her husband, they've been building towards it, but her teaming up Lucilla and taking over the business side I don't see how it directly is going to help to getting back her daughter. I can only assume it's because she's going to continue funding Rudru, and she's going to hope that Rudru can bring back her daughter. So in that way, her character is quite consistent. And if she had a moment for character development, which would have been in episode 6, I think, is the episode where we get the possession of her daughter. If she had that moment, it appears to have come and gone. So those are my thoughts, my more general thoughts on Swamp Thing, and my somewhat specific thoughts on the episode Brilliant Disguise. I hope you will join me for my review of the next episode, which is, title's not here on IMDb, so to be determined, to be announced. But that's all for now. Take care and be well and protect the green. Goodbye.